What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and are you ready to work with these energies this week? We got a couple of planetary ingresses that are going to be happening. Saturn's moving back into Pisces, looking over that sector of our chart one last time, and then Mercury. Mercury's going to be sitting strong, not only entering to its sign where it's domicile, but its exaltation, which I think we're going to need to kind of manage that, because it's like, of course, right as Mercury enters, it's looking at being opposed by Saturn by whole sign. So there's still going to be some things that we're going to be kind of navigating. There's some opposing forces, but I think that problem-solving energy of Mercury and Virgo is really going to help us through any sort of challenges that are going to be coming through there, because September's looking busy, but we'll get into all that here in a moment. But if you're new here, again, my name is Justin, and one of the things that I do in this channel is talk about the celestial news weekly, the chit-chat that goes on up in the sky, and I'm going to be covering the week of August 28th through September 3rd, 2025. And we'll get in, before we jump into this thing here, there are no more aspects in the, in this time of August here. So take this period of time as we're kind of wrapping, these next few days as we're kind of wrapping up August, to kind of process what's happening here, because September's just going to kind of kick it off there. Well, Saturn's leading us into September, which is, not, I mean, we would want anybody else to leading us into this, but it'll start off with Saturn, then Mercury's going to be the next one, and then we have a bit of a harder aspect between Mars and Big Papa. Got the eclipses that are going to be coming up here this month. On the 7th was the lunar eclipse, which for the eclipses, I'm going to be doing them kind of separately there. I'll be talking about the lunar eclipse on the lunar shenanigans, and then I'll be talking about the solar eclipse on this when I do the Celestial News Weekly, just so you know what's going on there. Then we got some nice aspects with Jupiter. Big Papa's coming into the mix. We have the Kazemi that's happening towards the middle of the month. And then shortly after, we get some tougher conversation that happens, some more ingresses that are going to be happening. So yeah, September is a busy one. This is going to be one where we're going to really want to be watching our charts and seeing what's going on through there. But let's go ahead and get into this thing. And look at that, we got some freshness. Look at that, finally got Saturn out of Aries. That was nice. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this thing, because our first ingress, starting off on a moon day, the 1st of September, Saturn is going to retrograde back into Pisces, and this is going to happen at about 1:06 a.m., and that's going to be Pacific time. Now, with Saturn going back into Pisces, you're going to want to look to see where Pisces falls in your chart, because Saturn's going to be high. Saturn's been here since 2023. It entered about March of 2023. And think about the themes that Saturn has been going over as it's been transiting through Pisces, how that's been showing up for you. Like, example for this chart, if you have a Cancer rising, maybe there are things that have been coming up with your beliefs, maybe something with foreign people, or with foreign travels, or something along spirituality. Maybe astrology's been discovered. But whatever this thing is, like looking over this period, because this is going to be the last time that over this next few months that Saturn's going to be here. This is going to be the last time that Saturn's going to be going over this before it exits out of here for the next 20 some odd years. So especially, pay attention if you have any kind of hard aspects that are being formed with Saturn. That's going to be the mutable, looking at your mutable placements. We're talking Pisces, that's going to be conjunctions. For our squares, we're looking at Gemini and Sagittarius, and oppositions is going to be Virgo placements. So especially if you have anything towards that, about, I think it's 25 degrees is where Saturn's going to retrograde back to. So even as early as like 22, you may still be even, if we talk about that 3-degree range, that's going to be kind of feeling those energies as Saturn is going over this more potently. So keep an eye on that, and then see what house theme is being activated for you, and how this may be, so you can be better equipped to deal with the situations there. Now, on just like a general level, Saturn in Pisces, Saturn is this cold, drying energy, and now it's coming in a water sign, so it's just freezing everything. You're just really kind of feeling that sort of glacial weight of Saturn, which maybe on an individual level, maybe one way it can maybe translate as is just feeling frozen, maybe by the heaviness of the emotions. Maybe there has been an increased sensitivity, and Saturn's been teaching us with this to be responsible responsible for the energies that we take in, as we're, the things that we are capable of feeling, how we're feeling. And so maybe that's something where maybe there are certain emotions that keep you stuck, that keep you frozen, that keep you, whatever that may be, and this where Saturn is not just putting this stuff in our face just to keep us down, it's to show where there's needing some emotional work that's needing to be done, and this may not be something where if you feel like you can't do this by yourself, then that's what, then ask for help. Find someone who can create that space for you to let those emotions, to kind of chip away at that glacier so that we can create something different. Because, Pisces is the mutable water sign. They're traditionally ruled by Big Papa, Jupiter, and they're receptive or yin in nature. And I find that Pisces has this expansive way of feeling. It's like the deepness that they can feel. It's like it is like the ocean. That how much they can, I think, can take in, and where that is extraordinary in the levels that they can feel and the things that they can imagine and can create in things. There is also, again, that it's not all good stuff, that's being absorbed, that all the time. You got a problem when people are going through those more kind of Saturnian emotions, when we're dealing with like any sort of those kind of secretive things that we keep to ourselves, those doubts, those things that us at a baser level, or those energies of like self-deprecation or depression and things along those lines, when we go through those kind of challenging energies. And this may not even be something where it's you, maybe if it's you that's not feeling this may be the weight of other people's emotions around you. They're maybe having a really difficult time with maybe the Saturn transit here, and you're kind of looking like, well, what's the problem? And that could even be where that Saturn coldness can come in with Pisces, is maybe taken away from that lack of empathy. And not to say we let others, just kind of, we have to give them the space to feel what they need to feel, but also letting them know that, I can't let this bring me down too. I have to give this a little bit of space. You have to find maybe some other ways to process these things. And I think it's finding those healthy boundaries with Pisces, and then Saturn is a great representation of those boundaries, where at what point am I at capacity? Am I, where the container is just overflowing, and I can't take on anymore at this time, and then being able to articulate those emotions. Because the thing is, the stuff that we don't deal with, and just on just like a practical level, whatever house this is coming up in for you, dealing with those themes. Because the thing with Saturn is, you can ignore those themes, but they will come back to bite you. Saturn, and it won't be something fast like Mars. Saturn is stuff that builds over time. So let's say, for example, I have a Leo rising. Saturn's been going through my 8th house, and there were some debt things that I needed to get taken care of. And sure, I could have ignored them, but that would have been a bigger problem later. And so not trying to do that. Then, they're 30 years down the line, so took care of that. And now it feels lighter. The weight of that is no longer on my shoulder. So now I can deal with other things in the themes of that house, kind of explore other topics. And that's the thing too, I find with this, as you're working with, especially the malefics, if you're taking on those challenges, it frees up that space, when we tackle whatever that thing is that we may be putting off. Because I think too, Saturn and Pisces can bring on this state of like laziness and indolence, and just, it's like, it makes you think about the 8 of Cups, that's Saturn and Pisces in tarot, and this need to where time to move on from something, time to leave something behind there. And it's like, and when we're dealing with these themes in our house and taking these challenges, and again, that just opens up more space for us to be able to tackle something else, to deal with those other things, to build more, as opposed to staying stuck in the same place and stagnant, that I think that sometimes Saturn can bring there. So, just some things to just kind of reflect on, as Saturn's going to be over here until at least sometime early next year, around I think the end of January, beginning of February, when Saturn officially moves just into Pisces, into Aries. And that's another thing too. It's not just thinking about, we got a taste of what Saturn and Aries is going to feel like. And that's something too, with it being back in Pisces. How did that feel? Do you feel equipped for what's coming, and then whatever those themes are getting ready to come up for you, because Saturn's going to get ready to highlight there. They're going to highlight that soon. So this can be a time, get these things done so that you can better so that you can better tackle what's getting ready to come there. I think that, anytime you can get ahead with Saturn is fantastic. So just another thing to think about there. But then we get to the second day of Mars Day, the 2nd of September, and then Mercury is going to enter into Virgo, and that's going to happen at about 6:23 a.m. And again, that's going to be Pacific time. And like I was saying, here's on the chart here, there's Mercury freshly in Virgo. And like I was saying earlier, this is a great place for Mercury to be in. It was retrograde in Leo through all that kind of wildness, and now it's in its place of not only where it's in its domicile, but also where it's exalted. So when the planet is one in its domicile, it just has all the resources that it needs to do the things that it does well, and then being exalted just raises that up even further. So this is an excellent place. Whenever we get Mercury in Virgo, that's fantastic. I know a lot of people who have this placement, this Mercury in Virgo placement. It's efficient. It gets things done. Virgo is like I said, ruled by Mercury. They're the mutable earth sign. They're receptive or yin in nature. And Virgo can take in what's going on around them to analyze the problem and find a solution to it, to figure out what needs to change, what needs to be added on, what needs to be removed in order to just further refine this thing. I find them, words like that, refinement, excellence. Those are themes that I think about when we're kind of working with the Virgo energy, because, it's working in the material space. It's being able to take those thoughts and move things tangibly when Mercury is in Virgo. So even though, as you see here in the chart, even though they're opposed by whole sign here, this Mercury in Virgo, I think that Mercury is still in a prime state. It's moving faster now as it's getting ready to come up to that cazimi with the sun. Mercury's in a good condition, I think, to take on the Saturnian things that maybe have been challenging you, to see what's been opposing you, what's been getting in the way, what's been hindering your path, so that you can move on, and so that we can all move on from and tackle these next things that are coming, to be able to, and there may be, again, some shakeups during the eclipses that are going to be happening. But again, Mercury there is going to be able to make sense of it, or at least that's the goal with Mercury, is going to be able to hopefully be able to make sense of this. And this may be a lot of higher mental energy. Mercury's really working in Virgo. And again, that's going to be, the mutable placements are really kind of active right now, with having this Sun, Mercury, and Saturn kind of opposing these energies. So again, Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius, you got a lot going on. But even the cardinal placements, too, have a lot going on there, with Jupiter being there in Cancer, Mars in Libra. So again, just kind of look at your chart. No one's sleeping right now. So everyone's got something going on here. But I would say, if, just speaking of Mercury and Virgo, if you notice the mind has been going, tune into that. Find ways to get grounded, especially when the mental energy gets really busy, to ground yourself in the body. Do something, clean up the space, cook yourself some food, do something that requires your attention, something where you can need to focus on something. Do some reading, maybe, for a little bit, something to kind of help the mind unwind to kind of process all this. There's all this energies that we're going to be moving through here, because it's not going to be, there's going to be, I'm switch back over, there's going to be a lot of things, again, kind of building up there. This is going to be the lighter of the week, but just kind of looking at the weeks to come, especially once we get from about the 12th moving forward, it's just transits. The sky's really kind of talking there. So, again, as we get ready to get into this stuff here, it's understanding, I think, too, that we're all experiencing this, in some sort of way, but it's also ways that can be made sense of. It's not something where, and this is something too, doesn't have to be where it's something that is happening to you. It's just like, okay, this theme is being highlighted in my chart right now. How can I work with this? What can I do? What's within my agency to make these themes better, to improve these things? Look at where you have Virgo in your chart. Mercury's doing some good work there. Mercury's thinking. Leo rises, Mercury's going through your money house. So, and this is something especially to pay attention to when we're watching these sort of like planetary ingresses and things. If, let's say, if Pisces is a sign of the year for you, or Virgo is a sign of the year for you, or if Saturn is your time lord, or if Mercury is your time lord, we want to watch these things because these planets are going to be more potent, more active in your, or more prominent, let's say, in the themes of your transits there. So just some things to kind of pay attention to there as you're working with this. But yeah, that's all I got for you there. Very kind of interesting energy as we get ready to kick off into September here. But I think we're going to be able to, we'll ride this thing together. We got this thing. And you know what? I would love to hear in the comment section, how you've been working with these energies, what houses may have shown up for you, and how you're working with this thing, and how you're experiencing this. Maybe this has been one where, where sometimes you can see things as like like I said, for mutable placements, it may be harder with Saturn, but maybe if you have let's say Cancer or Scorpio placements, Saturn's forming a trine, so maybe there's some flow that's happening there. So, just to be able to see the differences that are going on with your chart there. So I think that kind of helps put things into a better perspective. But if that's something too where you want to see how these planets are working more personally in your chart, or if you want to plan any sort of like electional things, whether that be from planning a trip to signing a contract, setting a wedding, whatever that's looking like, down in the description box there's a link to book a consultation with me. And if you have any questions about the services that I provide, my email's down there too, so definitely check that out. Also, there is a couple playlists, one for the lunar shenanigans, which I had mentioned earlier, which talks about the astrology of the moon, what sign it's in, what phase it's in, when it happens to be going void of course, and just to get a feel through the week. And actually there's the playlist for just the Celestial News Weekly as well. And then I have these separate series that I'm doing that talks about different planets in different celestial bodies in different zodiac signs in different houses, and just about some ways to approach those placements and some things to be thinking about. So if that's something that interests you, they're all done by playlist there. And if you don't see your sign and want to see that, leave a comment in the comment section. I will definitely make a video for it. So, but that's all I got for you there. So until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one, Mercury Day.